सत्राध्यक्ष, अध्यक्ष विज्ञान भारती दिल्ली, विशिष्ट अतिथि के रूप में शोभायमान मां सरस्वती की साक्षात प्रतिमूर्ति मैम शशि तिवारी जी, अध्यक्ष वेव्स इंडिया, परम स्नेही मेरे गुरु परम श्रद्धेय डॉक्टर अभयदेव जी के संस्थान वेद संस्थान दिल्ली को सुचारू रूप से संचालित करने वाले दास जी, वेद संस्थान दिल्ली। आई थिंक विकास सर अभी जुड़ पा रहे हैं या जुड़ेंगे। माननीय रश्मि मैम, उपाध्यक्ष विज्ञान भारती दिल्ली, अपर्णा जी जो भी हमसे जुड़ चुकी हैं, हमारे सारस्वत वक्ता जो कैलिफोर्निया से हमसे जुड़े हुए हैं डॉक्टर विवेक तिवारी जी, मेरे सतत सहयोगी डॉक्टर पोकर्णा जी, प्राचार्य राजकीय कन्या महाविद्यालय किशनगढ़, नवीन योग से योग प्रशिक्षिका श्रीमती सुप्रिया खुराना, IQAC सनातन धर्म राजकीय महाविद्यालय ब्यावर, श्री ब्रजमोहन लाल शर्मा राजकीय कन्या महाविद्यालय ब्यावर एवं विज्ञान भारती दिल्ली के संयुक्त तत्वावधान में अवसाद से प्रसाद की ओर साहित्य, संगीत, कला एवं विज्ञान के परिप्रेक्ष्य में विषय पर आयोजित इस अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी में मैं डॉक्टर अनीता खुराना, वर्तमान में प्राचार्य राजकीय कन्या महाविद्यालय नसीराबाद, संयोजक संगोष्ठी रोचक तकनीकी सत्र में मैं आप सभी का हार्दिक अभिनंदन करती हूँ। सत्र की निर्विघ्न सफलता के लिए आदरणीय दास जी को आमंत्रित करती हूँ मंगलाचरण के लिए। आदरणीय देव कृष्ण दास जी।
धन्यवाद जी। ओ स्वस्ति न इंद्रो वृद्धस्रवाः स्वस्ति नः पूषा विश्ववेदाः स्वस्ति नस्तार्क्ष्यो अरिष्ठानेमिः स्वस्ति नो बृहस्पतिर्दधातु ॐ भद्रं कर्णेभिः शृणुयाम देवा भद्रं पश्येमाख्यभिर्यजत्राः स्थिरैरङ्गैस्तुष्टुवांसस्तनुभिर्व्यसेमहि देवहितं यदायुः। ॐ शान्तिः शान्तिः शान्तिः। अनीता
हमारा दास जी। अब मैं सत्राध्यक्ष माननीय डॉक्टर डीपी भट्ट साहब को उद्बोधन के लिए आमंत्रित करती हूँ। आदरणीय भट्ट साहब।
सभी को मेरा नमस्कार, गुड मॉर्निंग। एंशिएंट व मॉडर्न इंडियन नॉलेज सिस्टम के परिप्रेक्ष्य में ब्यावर में आयोजित इस अंतर्राष्ट्रीय संगोष्ठी 2024 के अवसर पर आज के हमारे विशिष्ट वक्ता इंजीनियर व टेक्नोलॉजिस्ट डॉक्टर विवेक तिवारी जी, जो इंटेल कॉरपोरेशन USA से आते हैं, उनका मैं स्वदेशी साइंस मूवमेंट ऑफ इंडिया व ब्यावर स्थित सभी आयोजक संस्थाओं की तरफ से अभिनंदन करता हूं और सभी आमंत्रित प्रतिभागियों को भी मेरा वंदन प्रणाम। प्रकृति द्वारा तनाव प्रबंधन विषय आज के परिप्रेक्ष्य में, आज के वैश्विक परिप्रेक्ष्य में काफी रेलेवेंट है, क्योंकि यदि हम भारतीय स्वतंत्रता की बात करें 1947, उसके बाद आज जनसंख्या में तो वृद्धि हुई है लगभग 5 गुना, गरीबी में भी 21 गुना लगभग बढ़ोतरी हुई है, लूट घूसखोरी में भी लगभग 21 गुना वृद्धि हुई है, 60% से ज्यादा खेती हमारे देश में अभी बारिश के बिना हो रही है। देश में 65% आबादी झुग्गी झोपड़ी में अभी भी रहती है। गांव उजड़ रहे हैं और शहर की तरफ पलायन जारी है, जिसमें आप और हम भी शामिल हैं। अर्थशास्त्रियों के पास भी जब उपाय नहीं शेष रह जाता है तो हम फिर इस तरह की संगोष्ठी या इस तरह के तनाव प्रबंधन, इसकी बातें करते हैं। और सामान्यतया ये माना जाता है कि जो ये तनाव होता है ये गुस्से से होता है, या स्ट्रेस हो जाता है, एंग्जाइटी हो जाती है, डिप्रेशन हो जाता है, तो उससे तनाव होता है, फिर हमें प्रबंधन करना है। इससे हम सहमत भी हैं और असहमत भी हैं, पूरी तरह से सहमत नहीं हैं इस बात से। एनीवे, इस सारी प्रोसेस में अंततः सारी लड़ाई खुश रहने की है। कैसे हम खुश रहें? ऐसे में रिसर्च फाइंडिंग्स भी आ रही हैं, और उसमें तो एक लाइन में कह दिया जाता है कि आप मेंटल स्ट्रेस कम करेंगे, कपिल शर्मा के शो में जाएंगे, तो आपका तनाव सही हो जाएगा। लेकिन हमारा मानना है कि इसका एकमात्र हल हमारी भारतीय पुरातन जीवन सभ्यता व संस्कृति के संवाहक बनने में है, जो हम भूल चुके हैं। अतः हमारे पुरखों की विरासत को संजोने में व जन कल्याण के लिए संवारने में हमें युवा पीढ़ी का ध्यान आकृष्ट करना होगा, जिसमें हमारा संस्थान भी पिछले 3 दशकों से प्रयासरत है। पूरा करने में शायद एक जन्म कम पड़ेगा। अतः मेरा आग्रह है कि आप सभी जुड़ें ही नहीं बल्कि कुछ करें। बस केवल 2 चीज का उल्लेख करके मैं अपनी वाणी को विराम दूंगा। नंबर 1, मोनोकल्चर सोच, जिस पर हम काफी संभाषण देते हैं। वेस्ट की जो मशीनरी सोच है, तो उससे थोड़ा हटना पड़ेगा। दूसरा, हम अब जनरली हम सोचते हैं कि ईश्वरीय कृपा मंदिर बनाने से हो जाएगी। अभी भारत में भी राम मंदिर का भव्य निर्माण हुआ है, लेकिन ऐसा नहीं होता है। तनाव तो फिर भी रहता है, मंदिर बनने से आपका तनाव कम नहीं होगा। अखंड निष्ठा, अखंड तप और अखंड विश्वास। अखंड निष्ठा की जब हम बात करते हैं, वो धर्म के थ्रू आपको आ सकती है, लेकिन धर्म के साथ साथ आपका कर्म में भी आपका निष्ठा हो। कर्म में, इसको एक दूसरे शब्दों में है पुरुषार्थ। जब आप पुरुषार्थ में जोर नहीं देंगे, तो धर्म से आपको कुछ हासिल नहीं हो सकता है। परमार्थ। उसी प्रकार अखंड तप, ये संबंधों, जब आप संबंध बनाएंगे, आजकल संबंधों पर जो पुरानी बात थी वो रह नहीं गई है। कई लोगों से मेरा स्वयं का अनुभव है, मैं 40 साल से लोगों को जानता हूं, लेकिन संबंध आज तक स्थापित नहीं हो पाई। देखिए, कुछ लोगों को हमारे 4 दिन में भी संबंध स्थापित हो जाते हैं, जिसको हम ईश्वरीय संबंध कहते हैं। तो उस पर क्या हम लोगों ने विचार किया? और अखंड विश्वास, सबसे पहले स्वयं में विश्वास। जब तक हम स्वयं का उत्थान नहीं करेंगे, स्वयं का विकास नहीं करेंगे, स्वयंभू नहीं बनेंगे, तब तक आप भाईचारा की बात करने के लिए इंटाइटल्ड नहीं है। भाईचारा शब्द जो है हर डिक्शनरी में उपलब्ध है, हर एक उसकी चर्चा करता है। तो इसको मैंने अखंड विश्वास की बात करी है। तो जब तक ये नहीं होगा, तब तक हम इन तनाव या तनाव प्रबंधन के बारे में सोच नहीं सकते। हम काफी ने बचपन से संघर्ष करा है, चैलेंजेस भी लिए हैं, शायद हम सब पर आपदा भी आई होगी जीवन में, लेकिन हमने, या युवा पीढ़ी को हमें ये मैसेज देना है कि इन सब आपदाओं को या चैलेंजेस को हमें अवसर में बदलना होगा। तो इन सब छोटी छोटी बातों, क्योंकि मैं यहाँ पर आज भाषण देने के लिए तो नहीं आया हूँ। अभी सुबह सुबह ही अनिता जी ने मुझे कहा कि मुझे कुछ बोलना है, तो इन सब कुछ शब्दों के साथ मैं अब आज के जो मुख्य वक्ता हैं उनसे पुनः निवेदन करूंगा, या फिर डॉक्टर अनिता कुर्राना जी को कहूंगा कि वो अब आगे का मंच संभालें और आगे की कार्रवाई करें। बहुत बहुत धन्यवाद, बहुत बहुत नमस्कार।
बहुत बहुत आभार सर। अखंड निष्ठा, अखंड पुरुषार्थ, परमार्थ, आपके बताए ये जो 3 सूत्र हैं प्रेरणीय हैं। आभार सर। अब मैं हमारे मध्य सारस्वत वक्ता के रूप में विराजमान डॉक्टर विवेक तिवारी जी के रोचक वक्तव्य से पूर्व उनका परिचय प्रदान करना अपना पुनीत कर्तव्य समझती हूँ। डॉक्टर विवेक तिवारी जी को सादर आमंत्रण करती हूँ। उससे पूर्व उनके विषय में कुछ परिचय आपका। डॉक्टर विवेक तिवारी, सुदूर अमेरिका से आप हमसे रात्रि में जुड़े हैं, आपका हार्दिक अभिनंदन। आप इंजीनियर हैं और वर्तमान में इंटेल कॉरपोरेशन सैन फ्रांसिस्को बे एरिया में वाइस प्रेसिडेंट के पद पर शोभायमान हैं। आप प्रकृति प्रेमी हैं, प्रकृति विशेषकर पक्षियों से आपका विशेष जुड़ाव है। विज्ञान की पढ़ाई करते हुए भी प्राकृतिक सौंदर्य और प्रकृति से जुड़े पर्यावरणीय विषयों में आपकी गहरी रुचि है। प्रकृति और पक्षियों के प्रति लगाव का बीजारोपण आईआईटी दिल्ली में अध्ययन के दौरान हुआ, जो उत्तरोत्तर बढ़ता ही गया। आपने अमेरिका की प्रिंगटन यूनिवर्सिटी से स्नातक किया और वहीं से इलेक्ट्रिकल इंजीनियरिंग में पीएचडी भी की। पर्यावरण संरक्षण को लेकर आप सदैव जागरूक रहे हैं और अपनी व्यस्ततम दिनचर्या से समय निकालकर पर्यावरण को बचाने का संदेश भी प्रसारित करते हैं। डॉक्टर विवेक ने विश्व भर के विभिन्न पक्षियों से संबंधित जानकारी का गहरा अध्ययन किया हुआ है और आपके पास अनेक पक्षियों के दुर्लभ छाया चित्रों का संकलन है, जो पक्षियों के प्रति आपके प्रेम को दर्शाता है। प्रकृति प्रेमी और पक्षियों के प्रति जुड़ाव ने आपको विश्व भ्रमण करवाया। वस्तुतः आप वसुधैव कुटुंबकम की भारतीय ज्ञान परंपरा को साकार कर रहे हैं। एक और महत्वपूर्ण तथ्य, आप हमारी परम श्रद्धेय मैम प्रोफेसर शशि तिवारी, अध्यक्ष वेव्स के सारस्वत पुत्र हैं। आपका एक बार पुनः अभिवादन विवेक सर। आपका विषय आज का है प्रकृति द्वारा अवसाद प्रबंधन, डिप्रेशन मैनेजमेंट थ्रू नेचर, मेंटल वेलबींग थ्रू ऑब्जर्विंग बर्ड्स एंड नेचर। आदरणीय विवेक तिवारी जी, मैं अब आपको सादर आमंत्रित करती हूँ।
धन्यवाद डॉक्टर खुराना and धन्यवाद डॉक्टर भट्ट and other guests. I'm honored to be able to speak to you again, and I'll start sharing.
हाँ सर, आप अपना लेक्चर स्टार्ट कर सकते हैं सर।
हाँ, वही मैं इसको शेयर करने की कोशिश कर रहा हूँ।
जी सर, जी सर, जी सर।
वो मुझको बोल रहा है कि आई एम नॉट अलाउड टू शेयर माई स्क्रीन राइट नाउ। आपको शायद परमिशन देनी होगी मुझे शेयर करने के लिए।
डॉक्टर दास, इनको होस्ट बना दीजिए, होस्ट।
परमिशन परमिटेड है आप।
अब हो गया, चलिए अब हो रहा है। ओके, अब बताइए कि मेरी स्क्रीन दिख रही है?
यस, स्क्रीन।
Okay, thank you very much. Thank you to all the guests. So today I want to talk about depression management through nature or mental well-being. So
स्क्रीन नहीं दिख रही अभी।
आपको स्क्रीन दिख रही है?
दिख रही है,
बिल्कुल दिख रही है।
जी सर।
Okay, so I will continue then. So I want to talk about how observing birds and nature can help with our mental well-being, and this is a very important topic, as Dr. Bhatt also said. I mean, we hear news about how our youth, in particular the youth, is under a lot of stress. There are even news about suicides and things like that, which is really sad. The stress of competition, stress of getting into college, stress of getting a job, and after COVID, I think all around the world, everybody feels that everybody is stressed. So in that context, this is a very good conference and a very good topic. And so I'm glad to be able to share my perspective on this. I actually spoke at a conference here almost 4 years ago, December 2020, right during COVID. And I think at that time, our topic was like the rediscovering our Indian traditions and how that was important during the time of COVID. But today we have a different theme, but it's related, right? Since COVID, people have felt that the level of stress that everybody is feeling is very high. People also rediscovered nature. And since that time, there has been a lot of publications, a lot of work where people have said how bird watching in particular, but nature or being in nature can help with mental health, can help reduce stress. And I am not a doctor, even though my name's, I have a doctor in front of my name. I'm not a medical doctor. So I am not here to give any medical advice. But what I can share is my own perspective and what a lot of other people are saying. And here are some examples of references. There is the Institute of Health in America. It actually published a paper on nature and mental health, and birding is a proven solution. Here's the reference for that. And a lot of other newspapers, New York Times, Time Magazine, they have picked up on this theme that birds, nature, these are important to us and they have a beneficial effect. So that's what I would like to talk about. And instead of going through the technical references, I want to give you more of my own perspective. But I will share a couple of books for people who are interested to read about this. And these are available on Amazon.com. I'm sure they're also in Indian websites. This is saying bird therapy. This was somebody who actually had a breakdown. He had a physical breakdown and a mental breakdown. And beyond counseling and medical health, he discovered birds, he discovered nature, and how it helped him change his life. And this is the same theme, that being in nature can give you stability, it can give you some meaning, it can help with daily mental issues. Here is another book that's very popular right now. I actually listened to the speaker, Dorian Anderson. He came to our local bird club and he gave a talk. So he was in very prestigious institutes. He was a scientist, but he also had a lot of stress and personal problems. And in fact, he had problems with drug addiction. And so he changed his life and he decided to go cycling across America in search of birds. And that led to his own personal recovery. He rediscovered himself, he rediscovered the joy of life. And this book right now is very popular. And also his talks are on YouTube. And perhaps I'll encourage you to listen to those. So these are, a lot of this literature and even your own perceptions. I'm sure you all know this, or you all feel that nature, being in nature, it helps mindfulness. It's like a meditation, being in a forest, sitting out, in an open environment, surrounded by trees, surrounded by bird sounds. It makes your mind, it makes you alive. You feel alive. Your mind is focused. It reduces stress. It keeps you physically active. So there's a healing element to nature. And then there are other benefits, like it keeps you social, keeps you connected to other people. It provides moments of joy, moments of awe, and all of this stimulates the mind. So all of this helps. So now, instead of me showing you just words, and maybe I can take you on a little virtual journey, and maybe perhaps I'll try to share with you the joy I feel. So I'll start with just a very quick introduction how I got into birds. I think Dr. Khurana mentioned some of that. I grew up in Delhi, and near Delhi we have this place called Deer Park or Haus Khas. And शुरू से ही बचपन से ही पापा मम्मी हमें यहाँ ले जाते थे. एक हमारे अंकल थे, अंकल महाजन, वो हमें यहाँ ले जाते थे. So I started discovering, just the fun of being there, insects, trees, plants. So from a very early age. So it wasn't so much about birds, it was just about nature. And then there is Delhi Zoo. So we used to go to the Delhi Zoo all the time for picnics and for other reasons. It is near the Purana Killa. It's actually a nice green area. But I was also fascinated by a section, which was the bird section. And in particular, there were these two macaws there. And the first time I saw these macaws, these are giant parrots. I was still a very young kid, and I could not believe that there were birds like this that existed. And the display said that these birds are found in South America. And I couldn't believe that birds like this could be in the wild. So I sort of made it my mission that I needed to get educated, get a job, be able to travel outside India, get to South America and see these birds in the wild. So from a very early age, that became my dream. And I started working towards it, working hard for that goal. When I was in IIT, I discovered the nature club there. That's when I started birding. This was a trip we made with World Wildlife Fund. We went down to South India, near Top Slip on the border of Kerala and Karnataka. That was my first real bird watching experience. I started discovering the joys of Indian wildlife. This is a great pied hornbill, birds like this. But I still wanted to meet my original goal, which was to go see the macaws. So kept working, studying harder. I went to the US at Princeton. And during that time in the biology department, I started meeting other biologists. And we started talking about birds. And I would spend my time looking at field guides like this. This is a field guide, and these are pictures of the macaws. So I was still waiting to go there. So after I finished my doctorate and got a job, then I was at a point where I could start traveling. And then finally, after a long time, I finally went to Peru, and I saw these macaws in the wild. These are scarlet macaws. I was actually with family, so it was a great joy to be able to share this with my family. Here are the blue and green macaws. So these were the same macaws I was talking about in Delhi Zoo. So seeing them in the wild, in the middle of the rainforest, was like a dream come true. And since that time, I have traveled to many places, mostly in Central and South America. I have a special fascination for macaws. It's my goal to see all the macaw species in the world. Right now, I have 3 or 4 left. So maybe my future trips, I will go see them. But these are some of the various macaws I've seen over time. So that's how I got into birds. And I've spent almost 30 years bird watching. And in the last 10 years or so, another joy has been sharing it with my family. This is my son, Vayun. From a very early age, he started photography. He started taking photographs of birds, and we have been going together. And in fact, many of the pictures I'm going to show today are actually his pictures. He's a great photographer. So it's a great joy to be able to share this with him. So now, with that journey, I mean, just like many other people, right, all the way to our ancient culture, like people like Kalidas, who wrote about the beauty of nature, the initial thing that attracted me was the beauty of the birds. And that is naturally how most people start. But there's also a connection with nature. And I think this, I don't need to explain this. I'm sure you all feel that there is something about us that resonates, or when we are in nature, we feel that we are somehow connected. There is a famous biologist, E.O. Wilson. He talked about the biophilia, our affiliation for, or our intrinsic need to be connected to animals, wildlife, or nature in general. So biophilia. But that's also something that's in our own tradition, right? In fact, all traditional systems of knowledge talk about the connection with nature. I sometimes think about our Vedas, where we talk about our Atma, or the self, and it's connected to Brahm, right? And maybe Brahm we can think of as Prakriti or nature at large. So this concept of being connected to nature. So maybe that's when we are out in a place like this. This is or near Coorg in the Western Ghats, and you see greenery. It brings you peace. It brings you calm. You see waterfalls. There's something soothing about the sound of a waterfall, the sound of a river. It connects to us. And then when you are actually able to go and be one with nature, this was actually in Colombia, where I went for a swim in a river. It just brings a new joy. This was the same place. Even if you go out in the rain, rain falls on your head. It's a feeling of being alive again. In Costa Rica, there's a small country, Costa Rica, in Central America. They have a Spanish word called pura vida, a Spanish term, pura vida, or pure life. And it is no surprise that Costa Rica has one of the longest lifespans for the people. It's a blue zone. It's called a blue zone, which is parts of the world where people have the longest lifespans. And Costa Rica is one of those places where people are close to nature. They try to stay away from the stresses of modern life. And I think we can all share that in different ways. And so when you are in touch with nature, it just brings you inherent joy. This is a butterfly. I was just out in the forest, and this butterfly came and sat on my hands. This is a bird in Brazil. It just brings joy. So, that's the biophilia of being connected with nature. So the initial thing that attracts us is beauty, right? And here I like to show a picture of a peacock. This is our moor. I think this is one of the prettiest birds in the world, if not the most prettiest bird in the world. But people in other parts of the world, they have their own opinion. So this is a resplendent quetzal. This is found in Central America. And many people think this is the most beautiful bird, at least in the Western Hemisphere. And this is a long tail. And I was really lucky to get this picture with its full tail showing like this. So, the beauty of birds is the immediate thing that attracts you. Here's an example of many, many species that I've seen over time. And you can just appreciate the colors here. So what I actually do is every year at Diwali, I make a collage of some of the birds that I photographed that year. And then I share it with friends and family. I call it natural fireworks, non-polluting natural fireworks. And it brings me a lot of joy every year to make that collage. And this is some of the collages from the last few years. So you can see that, obviously that the beauty of birds appeals to us. And this is my son. He was having fun with a bird, a hummingbird. So I want to share one group of birds with you to give you a sense of the wonder and the beauty and diversity of birds. And that family of birds are called the hummingbirds. So this bird right here is a hummingbird. Hummingbirds are found only in the Western Hemisphere, all the way from North America to South America. They're very small and they are very colorful. So this is an example of that. This is Anna's hummingbird. But just watch this. So this is the same bird. And now you can see that the color is gone. Now I'll go back there. So all it did was it turned its head, and the light of the sun reflects off its feathers and the light shines. It is not pigments in the feathers, but it is just the structure of the feathers that the light comes through. So that's what these hummingbirds are. And there are almost 360 hummingbirds in the world, and they're really tiny, and they're like little jewels. Here's one from Peru. Here's another one. So these hummingbirds feed on nectar. They're very small. They need a lot of energy because they can fly, they can hover. And to hover, their wings have to move really fast. So they need a lot of energy. And they get that by nectar from the flowers, the sugar from the flowers. And you can just see, it's hard to believe that these are real birds. And there are examples of that. And the bill is different to feed on a different flower. This one is called a sword-billed hummingbird. The bill here is as big as the bird because it feeds on a very specific kind of a flower that looks like, in India, what we call a dhatura flower, a flower like that, passion flower. That's what it needs to feed on. So these are just some examples of hummingbirds, and I'm only showing you just a few of these. Like I said, there are over 360 hummingbirds, but this will give you a sense of some of the more beautiful of bird families. So initially, it is like the beauty attracts us, but beauty can only be skin deep. You need to go beyond that, and this is where mindfulness comes in, or I like to call and say make a difference between seeing versus looking. And when it comes to birds, the mindfulness is immediate. Why is that? Because if you are truly focused on observing birds or observing nature, all your senses are in use. You're watching, you're hearing, even a sense of smell may be important because of you see which kind of habitat you are in. But you are attuned and your mind is focused. You are there in the moment. You're not getting distracted by a cell phone or the newspaper or something or the other, or your stress of the day. You're focused in the moment, you are present. So that's the benefits of mindfulness. Mindfulness means it brings you calm. There's medically proven to reduce blood pressure, reduce your heart rate. So a lot of benefits. But it comes because you're focused on birds. So I'd give you an example of what I mean by seeing versus looking. So this is a crow, right? Kawa. But if you may not notice that there is another kind of a crow which also lives nearby. It's called a jungle crow. So this is our house crow on the left and the jungle crow on the right. So if you're not paying attention, they will all be ye sab kaue hain. But if you're trying to see, you might see the difference between them. Similar, another example, the pigeon, right? This is a common pigeon. Everybody sees this, everybody knows this. But if you look a little bit harder, you might actually be able to see a green pigeon. And green pigeons are very common, but they are not seen a lot because they are come up, they're in the trees and they are the same color as the trees. But if you're seeing, if you're focusing, you will see them. Here's a small exercise. So this is a group of birds. These are called starlings. And there is one thing in here that's different from that. And if you pay attention, you will see it. It's this here. This is a falcon, or Hindi mein jaise baaz kehte hain. So this falcon is trying to hunt these birds, and it caused a ruckus. So I saw this group of birds. I took my camera, and when I was looking at that, I noticed that there was a falcon that was causing this. So, you have to focus, you have to see, be in the moment. Here's another example as an exercise for you. In this picture, there's a bird. Can you see it? I'll give you one more second to see if you can find it. If not, this is the bird. And this is called a potu. It's in Central America and South America, but there are similar birds even in India. So I'll go back. It's sitting here. And what it does is it looks like a tree stump. And during the day, it just sits on top of a twig, and it becomes one with the forest. So here's an example of when you need to see, you will notice things. Another example of being in the moment, being focused. A scene like this. This is a scene from Trinidad. You can see how many different species are out here. There's a pelican, there are egrets, there are spoonbills, lots of species like that. So when you go out and you're observing nature, observing birds, you're trying to look for differences. You're looking carefully. And that by itself is a great therapeutic exercise. So that is, you're looking, and that's great. But what if you want to take it deeper? You follow the science, you take it to the next level. And then you start looking beyond the beauty, beyond the look of the bird, and try to understand their behavior, trying to understand other aspects of their natural history. So here's another hummingbird. Like I said, these hummingbirds feed on flowers. So why are they feeding on flowers, and why that's important? Because when it feeds on a flower, it gets pollen. So you can see here this pollen on its bill. Then when it will go to another flower, it will pollinate that other flower. That's how plants are reproducing. So the hummingbirds and plants have a close relationship. And just like other wildlife and the interconnectedness of nature, you try to start understanding that, and you see that nature is made up of small things that are all connected in a giant web. So by the way, that is not just hummingbirds. This is a sunbird. This is in India. This is a purple sunbird from India. It does the same thing. It feeds on flowers, and it helps with pollination. Another aspect of natural history is nesting. So I'm sure you all have seen this. This is still possible to see this, especially around villages and around water bodies. These are baya nests of weaver birds, and they build a whole group of nests like this. This is a baya. Very intricate nest. They're tied together. It looks like a basket. It's amazing that they can do this. But there are other birds in other parts of the world. This is a thorn bird. If you look carefully, it's over here. So this is a tiny bird, and it builds these huge nests using sticks. So, the nesting and breeding, that's another aspect of bird behavior. Here's another one. It's called an oven bird. It builds this oven. It looks like an oven. It's made from mud. So that's one. What I find in particular even more fascinating is bird diversity and how they are related to geography. So it's birds and biogeography. And here's an example I often give. This is a group of birds which are called, these are kind of birds called toucanets. And if you look at this, you'll see a whole different bunch of species, different prajatis. But they are in different parts of South America. And here is a map that shows that each of these is a different species, a different prajati of that toucanet. But you can see that they're all in different parts. And in fact, their ranges are divided by rivers and by mountain ranges. So if you want to see all of them, you will have to go to different parts, and you need to know where you are to see that particular species. So I was very fascinated by these toucanets. And then again, I made it my goal to see every one of these species. So I traveled to many different parts of South America and started seeing them. So this is a yellow-eared toucanet from Panama. This is from Brazil. And then this was the last one. And last year I went to Colombia, and I finally saw this. This is one of the hardest ones to see. So there's a question about, they're all very similar. Why are they in different places? Why aren't they overlapping? So these are the questions of biogeography. But you don't have to go to South America. You can see this even in India. This is our bulbul, right? This is the common bulbul. You've seen them everywhere. This common bulbul is everywhere. But this bulbul is a Himalayan bulbul. It's only in the Himalayas. This is a flame-throated bulbul. This is only in the Western Ghats, in the forest of the Western Ghats. And this is a white-browed bulbul. This is all over southern India, south of Satpuras. So similar concept. Now there are actually 23 species of bulbuls, all the way from Northeast India to Andaman Nicobars to different places. And then you have a bulbul like this, which is as a red-whiskered bulbul, really beautiful. So then you will say, okay, so you are saying that to see birds, I have to travel everywhere, I have to go travel the world. No, that's not the case. You can actually see them right at home. And this bird, the red-whiskered bulbul, this was actually taken in the middle of Delhi, in where where mummy lives, Papa Mummy lives in West Delhi, in Paschim Vihar, right in the middle of a big urban city. So you can actually find nature right at home. Here are some examples. This is a tree pie, a pair of tree pies, another green pigeon, and this is a hornbill, a gray hornbill. Now these look very interesting, and you'll say, I must be inside some national park, I must be in some forest to see this. But no, it's actually right inside our apartment complex, the Sakshara apartment complex. And I'm pointing to where that tree which is on. So it's this, ye chhat, hamari chhat hai, ye Punjabi अंगीठी. आप सोचेंगे ये किस तरह की wildlife habitat है. But this area is full of birds, and I've seen over 70 species right from here. And I spend a lot of time on my roof looking for birds, and things have changed. Now there's a big flag. So things are developing, but the birds are still there. Here are some examples. Tota, this is the common parrot, the rose-ringed parrot. But then there's another kind, which is the Alexandrine parrot. And you can see it's a little bigger bill. So isko log kuch jangli tota kehte hain kabhi kabhi. And then this is another one with the red head. So 3 species of totas right at home. Manas. So this is the common mana. But there's another one. This is a bank mana. This is a Brahmini mana. This is a pied mana. So all of this is from my rooftop in the middle of Delhi. So you don't have to travel very far to be able to get there. And this I thought was really interesting. This picture was sent to me by Dr. Khurana. This is Anasagar Lake in the middle of Ajmer. And so for you can go out and see this. These are all these pelicans there, right in the middle of a big city. And in fact, this article was written, these migratory birds give boost to tourism and meditation. So you don't have to travel too far to see birds. But if you travel, obviously you get, it brings you new experiences. This is me. This was 2 years ago. This is Sham. He's my friend. He's a birder. And we all went together to Himalayas with my son. And this is in Nainital. And far in the distance are the greater Himalayas. This is a picture my mom likes a lot. And I like this picture too. And this is where we were. We went in monsoon. So during the monsoon, everything is very green, but there's also a lot of leeches. So these are jhok mojas, or leech socks you have to wear, because they're all over there. But we were watching birds. This is Vayuni got a picture of a hooded pitta. This was a species we wanted to see. And these are all his pictures from that trip. So yes, if you travel, you will get new experiences. This is Corbett National Park from Nainital. And we actually saw some other experiences, like there was a man-eating tiger here. This is a place called Mohan, and it had killed 2 human beings right there before we went. And it led to this protest from the villagers there. They wanted the government to take some action. And for Vayun, this was a new experience to see this, because we had read about this, but he really got to see the conflict between development and population and wildlife. He got to see it real time. So when you travel for birds or travel for nature, you will see new things, you will learn new things. And then, the other benefit is community. Birding brings people together. Nature brings people together. This picture was from last year. This is Miguel. He's a native tribesman in Colombia. And only recently, he started getting into birds, and he started going out with tourists. So we cannot be further apart. We are 2 entirely different cultures. He's in a a tribal from the Amazon, and here I'm from India. Very different cultures, but there's the language of birds unites us, and we became friends, and we are still in touch. And we couldn't even speak each other's language, but we knew what we wanted, and we could communicate through our love for birds. And here's an example of a group of birders in California. But this is universal. Here's a picture from the Delhi Bird Club. This is Delhi. For the last 25 years or so, a lot of people have been getting together. We call it the Delhi Bird Club, different ages. Every weekend, people go out, enjoy birds, enjoy each other's company. And it's not so much as the birds, it's people enjoying the company of each other, learning from each other. And so, this was a big bird day. It's called the Big Bird Day. It's held every year where everybody goes out and tries to see as many species as possible. And it's a big community event. It's a social event. And this is a special tradition of Delhi Bird where breakfast is important. So either people bring their own breakfast, and after everybody has seen the birds and we take a break, everybody sits and eats. This is a really, really important tradition. Or we'll go to a restaurant and have chai. So it's that feeling of community. And then giving back. I think Dr. Bhatt also talked about how, nature is under threat. We have, overpopulation, or we have development. And through your own efforts of citizen science, it helps. So this is my son. He builds this calendar every year, and he sells this calendar to raise money to give to environmental causes. So another way of giving back. And this also, by giving back, it brings you peace. You feel like you're doing something, trying to make a difference. Another benefit of nature. So hopefully I've conveyed to you all the benefits of bird watching and nature watching, and perhaps you are wondering, well, I'm very excited. How do I start? So here are some tips. My first tip is just start seeing. Right now you can right now it's morning for you. You're probably hearing some birds right now. Look out your window. You don't have to go too far. Start noticing. If you want to go deeper, get a field guide, buy a book. These are the books, some very good books now on books on Indian birds. There are websites. If you only want one website, I would suggest this one. It's called birdcount.in, birdcount.india. And it has a web page for resources for Indian birders, which gives you a lot of information of every part of India. There is eBird is another website now, which is a tool. You can keep your own list of birds. Here is a video. It talks about eBird app ko Hindi mein checklist kaise banaye. Very useful. And then in modern age with our phones, now you have phones and you have an app called Merlin, which will actually identify the bird sound. You just press a button and it will tell you which bird is calling. You take a picture, you upload the picture, and it will tell you what species that is. So this is the modern age. So that can help you maintain your own notes, keep a list, or you can bring nature close to you. Just put out some seeds, put out some water. Here, this is a brown-headed barbet on our roof. It just comes to drink water from here. So there are various ways of finding that connection. Or if you can go out and visit the same place. Can be a local park. Every day you go out, you will see something different. You will notice something different. You will develop a deeper connection. And if you can, then travel. Travel opens up new experiences. Or join a group locally. Every part of India right now, there are bird watchers, there are groups. You can go to this website, and you will meet them. There are guides who will help you, and there are bird groups that will help you. So I invite you all to take the same journey that I did. And hopefully in this few minutes, I was able to convey to you the same feelings that have been with me for the last 30 years, and how it has helped my own development, my own mental health, and how I feel it can make a difference in everybody's lives. Thank you.
बहुत बहुत आभार विवेक सर। हमारे चारों ओर बिखरी हुई प्रकृति में विराजमान पक्षियों की खूबसूरत प्रसाद में दुनिया से आपने हमारा परिचय कराया। अब मैं आभार प्रदर्शन की कड़ी में मेरे सहयोगी डॉक्टर पोकर्णा सर को आमंत्रित करती हूँ। दास सर, सर को ओपन करिए। ओके सर।
वो आपने म्यूट पे भी हो सकते हैं।
I am audible.
यस।
Yes.
जी सर, जी सर।
On behalf of the organizing committee, International Conference on Depression to Joy, in the perspective of literature, music, arts and science, my sincere thanks to Dr. Vivek Tiwari for his exceptional presentation. जब सुंदर पक्षियों को देखेंगे तो उसके बाद मन स्वतः ही निश्चित रूप से प्रसन्न होगा. Then there will be no BP, no tension, only happiness, and thoughts will be positive. We are grateful for your valuable contribution. Thanks again for your wonderful presentation. Now I request Shrimati Supriya Khurana for Shanti Part. Thank you.
नमस्कार। शांति पाठ करेंगे। सभी आंखों को बंद करें। अपने ध्यान को सिर के तालु भाग अर्थात सहस्त्रार चक्र पे रखें। ओम शांति अंतरिक्ष शांति पृथ्वी शांति रापः शांति रौषधयः शांति वनस्पतयः शांति विश्वे देवाः शांति ब्रह्म शांति सर्वगं शांति शांतिरेव शांति रामा शांतिरेधि ओ शांति 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 सर्वारिष्ट सुशांतिर्भवतु। आए हुए सभी पुण्य आत्माओं का हृदयपूर्वक आभार। धन्यवाद।